Hey everyone, it is Karen with Naturally with Karen, and I'm hoping that I'm doing this right this time. I haven't really been live streaming. Let's see if we can make this work now. Oh, great, there it is. Okay, wonderful. Yay! I tried it one time earlier and it didn't really work out so good. So let me see with my reading glasses if I can make this bigger. I guess not. Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about hemochromatosis tonight. I made a couple of notes here. Oh no. I'm trying to see if this thing's working right. Nope, it's working. Okay, all right. Okay, great. So thanks for bearing with me here for a little bit. I'm really trying to figure out how to do the technology part of YouTube Live so that I can do these like I've been wanting to for a few months. So it's working. It looks like everything is working, and hopefully you can hear me okay. So you're probably going to watch this later because I haven't set up notifications for people to see that I'm live streaming right now. My name, people address me as Shaman, and my business name is Naturally with Karen. That's my birth name, is Karen. And I'm coming back with another video here about hemochromatosis. And you might say to yourself, what in the heck is that? Like the first time I heard it myself. But it is called a rare blood disorder. It's called, a disease. It's something that more and more people, especially where I live, seem to be being diagnosed with. And let me just explain, if you've never heard of it before, it basically is iron overloading. And here's what I see. Sometimes, and it seems like when I read the literature in the American Hemochromatosis Society, because there's a society for every disease now, which is good and not so good, is that people tend to get a bronzing of the skin all year round. They tend to have some pituitaryism, some pituitary issues, the pituitary gland in the brain that makes thyroid hormone. They tend to be commonly, their first symptoms are chronic fatigue and joint pain. And so if you're looking at this pool of symptoms put out by the society, hypothyroidism is also something that's really predominantly a symptom of hemochromatosis. So what the doctors have done frequently for a few of my clients who are not regularly doing wellness consultations, but I see them occasionally for massage, is that they draw their blood so that they can reduce their hemoglobin, so they can take down their iron and reduce the burden on the body. Now, what's really interesting is that long ago, shamans being original medicine people and coming in from birth, is long ago people used leeches and all kinds of things to do bloodletting. They knew that sometimes the pressure was built up, and so leeches were put onto the skin for bloodletting. I'm going to see if I can position myself just right, and I'll get better and better at doing these live streams so that they're more interesting and that I show up better. So I threw my dreadlocks up in a cap today. It was 14 degrees outside, and this is how they fell. So I got really interested, being as how I had several clients that have hemochromatosis diagnosis, and then in the shop where I rent my space, I was waiting at the counter, and I overheard a woman, who had her hair tinfoil, ready to be highlighted. And she was talking with some other people in the hair shop where I rent my space a couple days a week. And she said, yes, I just got diagnosed with this horrible blood disorder, and my insurance company is trying to figure out how they're going to come up with $17,000 a month in medications that I have to stay alive. And I thought, my gosh, and when she talked about it for a few more moments, she talked about it had to do with her blood, and, you know, they might even have to take blood out. I was like, this sounds pretty familiar. So, you know, I turned around and I asked her, and I said, you know, it sounds like a public conversation. By chance, were you diagnosed with hemochromatosis? She said, yeah, that's it. Oh my gosh, how do you know? And I said, well, I know like 2 or 3 other people right now that actively are diagnosed with that. And I hadn't heard of it, you know, many years ago, but I have recently. So I said, by the way, you know, I could help you with some wellness consultations with that. And I could help you to, you know, detox your body so you could kind of get your minerals figured out. She's like, oh, okay. You have to understand that a lot of people have never heard of, you know, the ancient ways, original medicine, detoxification. All they've ever known is going to the doctor. And sometimes it's a habit of they have a diagnosis and they are very married to that diagnosis, you know, and there's no separating them. They're contractually bound. And it's not for me to intervene or interfere. All I can do is learn and respect and, you know, give thanks. So, you know, these things were coming up ahead of time about, you know, people having hemochromatosis before they were diagnosed. Like I said, the skin would change colors. People could have some heart issues. They typically had pituitary and thyroid issues. And now they had this excess iron in their blood. They had way too much iron. Well, and then the several people that came in that I saw, they'd lost all of the hair on their head. And then they began to lose all of the hair on their arms. So the hair is the antenna for the body. You know, you have a hair where you have every pore just about on your body. And it's there just to, you know, take in information, to feed you. You know, think of yourself as like this sea creature with this hair all on the outside. Some of them, you know, you can't even see. And on the inside that sweeps your digestive system, there's cilia and villi and hair and on these follicles. And so you're designed in such a beautiful and geared in such a beautiful way so that you can maintain homeostasis at all times if you eat according to your nature, if you live according to your nature. But in the last many hundreds of years, we've progressively diminished how our way of life, you know, our expression and way of life, really is. We use all these chemical and hormonalized products. We shower under chlorine and fluoride. We have been exposed to drinking water with radiation and radiation in the air, and we live inside sticks and bricks buildings that are full of EMFs. So all of these things are affecting us. And then on top of it, people really don't know when they eat the mainstream standard American diet that that's just compounding. It's exponentially compounding, right? So they can run 5 miles a day and they can run to all the different doctors, but they're never going to fix them. They're never going to fix them because this is an issue that's related to their body's constitution and the environment that they and their family for multiple generations were exposed to, and it's not going to be an easy fix. It's like peeling apart, you know, the hypothetical onion, layers of the onion, you know. You've got to detoxify the person, you've got to build up their system, you got to find out through the mind-body what symbolically is manifesting from the subconscious mind. And this is the work of the shaman. This is work that took, you know, over 3 decades to learn how to do. It's not just a, you know, simple fix. So it's something that someone would need to journey with me for over a year, you know, hand-holding and trying different things to see which would fit, with no guarantee that anyone's going to ever be resolved of their issue. And so people that are not familiar with this type of work, it seems really hokey pokey to them, you know. And I have clients even in Superior, Wisconsin. Dale Summerfield is an amazing man, in Superior, Wisconsin, and Brian Marshall in Duluth, who's a pastor who I respect greatly. Denny Wita, who we reversed his stage 3 necrotic kidney disease just this year, proved it on blood tests. Kidney function was at a 30%. We brought it up to a 55%, and it's going up. We, removed the need for a dual hip replacement surgery, transitioned off 5 medications between myself, his physician, and the client, including warfarin. And so these are things that I would have never been able to do in my first 10 or 20 years of practice, of working with people. So when I see hemochromatosis, here's the first thing I think. The first thing I think with someone with hemochromatosis is, I want to sit down and ask you questions, or do our wellness consultation like I do with people all over the world through the video chat or through the telephone. Some people have a lot of anxiety and they don't want to meet face-to-face on a video, and I understand that. Anxiety is one of the most common things I work with, and I can get rid of that easily. But with hemochromatosis, I'm going to for sure want to get a hair sample so that I can find out what's going on. And then they're not straightforward and easy to read, as I've learned from a doctorate in chemistry whose books I'm reading. You have to find out where hidden toxicities are and mercury goes. And so I've gone above and beyond some traditional paths because, of applying myself on a daily basis. So hemochromatosis is interesting because if you look at it from the perspective of living up here in the Northland, one of the things I started to tell my clients, and one of them has elected not to do consultations. She finds it very hard to change her diet. She's still going to eat brats and hot dogs and things like that. And I'm not blaming, not at all. It is what it is. Other people think it's far too expensive to do consultations, and my thought is it's far too expensive not to have your health. I keep my rates very low, but I want a hair test which runs about $125. You get a written report. I keep a practitioner's copy of your report so that we can work together and we can see if what we're doing together is really working. Ideally, in 3 months and 6 months, we would get a retest, which is a lesser cost, and they would put the results side by side so that we can see what we're doing. Now I live up in northern Minnesota, and I happen to live on something called the Iron Range. So I'm going to let you use your imagination as to what that also might be part of what's happening here. But you are a bioelectric, magnetic, energetic, spiritual being having an experience here in this dimension, this earth, this plane, right? And your health and your life experience is probably one of the most important things ever. So hemochromatosis, my recommendations are hair test. Let's find out what's going on with your minerals, your heavy toxic metals, your nutritional, your metabolic. Let's see what's happening on, what the company shows on the trends, meaning it might show that you have a predisposition to depression, hypothyroidism, calculus, right? Hypoglycemia, any of those things. So then we can see what we're working with. Then I can ask you the questions through the wellness consultations, and we can find a plan that at least is going to give you really substantial relief. Okay? So that's a little bit about hemochromatosis. It's something that's relatively new for me. I have also helped a lady in Wisconsin reverse myasthenia gravis, which has to do with your thymus gland, which is behind your heart. And she was very, very eager in her 60s. She was referred to me, by a massage therapist by the name of Bob Gabries in Duluth, Minnesota. And he knew that I was just the right person for her. She was a go-getter. She was willing to listen. She was willing to make changes, and she was eager to live life. And the only type of client that I can really help, and I love to help, is the one that is really willing and motivated to have life. Okay? So that's a little bit about hemochromatosis. I'm not an expert on it, but I know that there are good ways to make a big difference, if not even reverse it, possibly, right? And so just like I had to learn about myasthenia gravis and all these other things, a shaman does not look or call things the same thing as the doctor does. We might call something, you know, an electricity issue or an electrical issue. For example, a client today with Parkinson's disease, I said, for me, it's an electrical issue, okay? Heart and brain issues and the connection and the conductivity is an electrical issue, okay? It could be just a detoxification issue. It could be, you know, that the body needs to really just refire up the thyroid gland so that your thermostat works and your gas pedal works again. Because you really are a lot like a vehicle. So if we can tune it back up, you feel good and the body wants to go back to homeostasis. All right. I wanted to drop in. It's been a long time since I've had a new video, and you can expect to see more from me. It's wintertime, so probably not as much outside, but we'll see. And I want to say so long for now, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.